Hello, everybody. Of course, it's the Math Boy here, and I've got a special guest with me on the channel today. So I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi guys, my name's Zach. I have my own YouTube channel called ZTV. I do content around education, university, aiming high, things like that. And today, Math Boys asked me to join in the video on a Q&A, I believe. So
Indeed, it
yeah, I
is.
mean, I'm sure you will leave a link to my channel somewhere in the
I will
description or
indeed.
the
I'll
comments.
plug all the stuff for you, including all the
Cheers.
socials and everything. I'll do that later on. Don't worry. When this video
Yeah,
gets put
do
out, like
do
I've never.
drop me a sub. Do
Yeah,
drop me a follow on Instagram if you want. And yeah, everything will be below.
it's like people that know me. So if you know who I am, I basically am teaching maths and film maths via a good old board, which you can just see in the corner behind me there. So that's where you see all my videos. You might see them digitally as well, because I'm doing exam papers. So I'm doing that on a screen, writing all my answers out. Otherwise, on a board, it's a bit small for you guys. That's one of the reasons why I do what I do. You know, I'm strong for maths, and this is where I want to go. And essentially, this is just like backup of like, hey, this is what I'm like at this point, what I'm going to be, in the future down the line. So I set out earlier on today a Q&A over on Instagram, and they have left me some questions, and I'm going to pose them to you as well because, well, I can bring you in as whatever you wish, yeah?
Yeah, sounds good.
Right, so the first one, I'm not going to say names, I'm going to keep it anonymous for obvious reasons. We've got the favorite phenomenon for in the world of mathematics. So, what would your answer be to that one? Favorite phenomenon, something you enjoyed because, of course, you do A-level maths. You did A-level maths, right, for a couple of years. So, I think this is one of the
Yeah,
reasons why I kind of posed this question to you as well as to me. So, I'll let you answer first.
awesome. My favorite phenomenon.
Yeah.
Um,
So, things that have gone around for time in maths, and then now we've actually got an answer to it. Or maybe is it still a
uh,
phenomenon? I don't know. Interesting question to me.
honest,
Which is why
yeah,
one of the reasons I
honestly,
picked it
maths.
first.
My favorite phenomenon in maths. I'd say, to be honest, the whole concept of like quadratics. I mean, it started in GCSE. At first, with GCSE, we're told this is how quadratics work. Just do them. And we don't really have an understanding as of like what does like the roots mean? What does it mean when we have to make it to equal to zero and rearrange for x? But then once you get to A level, so this is more year 12 as a way to get us
Yeah.
transitioned from year 11 maths to year 12 maths. We start learning about the graphs. Um, and yeah, I guess this sort of stuff is covered in grade 8 and grade 9 GCSE
Yeah.
maths. But at A level, it really makes sense, like how graphs are intersecting, and then you could just start rearranging quadratics and making each thing.
I think
Um,
that's a good point,
you could.
actually.
It
That's
is.
quite
It
a good
is really
point
cool, isn't it?
because
Like we're told about it at GCSE, but it's A level
yeah,
maths when you start really visualizing it, when you start
yeah.
drawing it out on graphs, on your
But
paper, finding
I've
the roots to the
I've mentioned
equation,
this.
things like that. That was really cool. I think
Mentioned things like
even
this
though
in a
it
couple
is
of
a really
yeah.
basic element of A level maths, I'd say it probably is
So
one of my favorite
I've
part.
mentioned a couple of these myself in a couple of my videos where we just keep dipping our toes in the water. Like we tell you about it, but we don't really tell you where it's coming from. We sort of like just give you enough
Exactly.
to sort of like, hey, that you can go and do the exercise in the textbook now. We don't tell you all the long details of what you need to know because that's safe for later on in degree where we actually break it down what it actually means to solve a quadratic or even in
Hmm.
maths as well because of course you didn't do maths, and so one of my questions to you is what was the reason that you didn't do maths, or was it that you just it wasn't offered, or like, what's
Yeah,
the
so
story behind that?
I'd say there's various reasons. Well, firstly, my sixth form didn't offer it. Um, and secondly, I'd say at a more interest level. So I think so, people's interests are always changing, right? But when I was at the stage of like choosing my A levels, what I was going to study, I think like my interest was definitely more in the biology area. So now I'm at university, I'm in first year studying evolutionary biology. That's definitely an area that really interests me.
Yeah,
So I think I wanted a like a wide range of subjects in the STEM area. So obviously, I ended up
Yeah.
taking biology A level, maths A level, and also psychology A level and an EPQ as well. So I think um, taking further maths, I was mainly looking at my university courses. I think the subjects I took were the best subjects I could have taken to get into that course and to also
Yes. I
really meet what I was interested in, I think.
Again, this is a good point because the whole point of this video is to sort of like give you like a transition sort of thing. That's what this video wanted to kind of guide it towards. And I feel like people just pick the A levels with like anywhere, and they just really don't care about them until they come to picking the
Yeah.
unit. And it's like, well, I should have really have studied
Further
that
maths as well.
to do
It's not
that.
an easy subject at all. Like I've been
No,
watching like maths for you do a lot of videos on further maths, and I sometimes just
yeah,
sit back and I'm like, wow, this is so interesting. This is so advanced. It's not an easy subject at all. So I
no,
assume the majority of people that end up taking further maths are the ones who have a genuine, like, real interest. Like
yeah,
I wouldn't say I'm the most maths sort of person. I wouldn't say I'm like um I wouldn't say I'm a natural person who thinks in a mathematical way. Rather, it was the concept of like what actually is maths that sparked the interest in me and resulted in me taking A level maths. I think that was the main reason. But yeah, further maths. It's not a choice you should go in straight away thinking, you know what, I'm just going to do A level further maths because it looks cool. Um, I know you could probably expand on this more, but it requires a lot more work, a lot more dedication,
yeah.
real
So
understanding.
if you do, people that do LMS and Filmos know that LMS is literally like a piece of cake when you do L Filmos because
I've heard that, yeah.
you are literally testing everything that you learn from LMS in Filmos. It's like, oh, I learned a bit of that like ages ago in LMS, and now I'm testing it in Filmos all the time. So one of the key skills that you know from A level L mathematics is differentiation integration.
Yeah.
Now, differentiation and integration in maths terms is quite simplistic. I don't want to rephrase that. Yeah, I don't want to say completely simplistic, but like I've said, like dipping your toes in the water, you don't really feel with like the full
Mm,
expansion of how do you integrate literally anything. You could think of any function and you think, oh, well, how do I integrate that? Or what derivative do you want to take? You know,
mm.
because we extended, of course, you've seen my videos, you know that we've done things like differentiating the inverse trig functions, and which used to be in LMAS before it got took out and moved to FERMAS, which was quite interesting. That got moved
Oh.
out. And then integrating them, so to arrive at arc sine, arc cos, arc tan, that again used to be in LMAS before it got took out into FERMAS. And used to do a lot more on vectors. Don't anymore. Vectors all moved on to
Mm.
FERMAS.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah.
things have changed, haven't they? I think this goes to show that if you do well at GCSE mathematics, like if you're getting those eights and nines, which is not easy to do, I must say. The grade 9 that I got out of GCSE was like, that was work. That was pure work.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably know yourself. What did you get at GCSE for mathematics, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I end up getting eight in
Yeah.
my GCSE maths. Yeah.
Again, you can probably like second what I say. You have to really work for
Yeah,
them
was
to
not
get.
easy at all. And you know, for me, unfortunately, our exams got cancelled because of COVID. But
Yeah,
in our mocks, I treated when we get told we have to treat our mocks like the real thing. That's what I did, and it was just past paper over past paper over past paper, and it would be the last few questions, like the second half or the last quarter of the exam paper, where I'd really work on that, really try and understand
yeah,
the concept, what's going on, because you know, in the higher paper, that's where the marks are. That's where um, it separates all the grade
yeah.
5, 6 students to the grade 8, 9 students.
Yes, because
Yeah,
it kind of linked into another question. One of the other questions was, do I have to do higher maths, the GCSE higher, in order to do LMS? Well, I would say yes, because you get the foundation of the early start of A level from year 12 from the AS. Now, in foundation, you only get capped at a grade 5, which, you know, is not a bad grade for maths. You still get a pass. But if you wanted to keep going, I'd expect people to do higher. What would you say on that? Higher or foundation?
So I've had friends at my sixth form who did get a grade 5 in foundation maths, and then they went on to do A level maths. And there was this general correlation where the people who did higher at GCSE, they did better, and those who did GCSE at foundation and got the grade 4 and 5, they unfortunately did a lot worse in the A level maths. And
Mhm.
having done higher and gone on to A level maths, I do notice that higher sets up a really good foundation. Um, Even though when you get to year 12, um, the things you'll be studying is a lot of the grade 8 and 9 stuff. So just to build the foundation of the rest of the course. But the foundation
Mm.
students, they really found it difficult. Like we were just talking about quadratics.
Yeah.
Um, I had a few GCSE foundation students doing A level maths, and they've really struggled with quadratics in the first few terms of school. And then as a result, as the teacher moves forward throughout the course, obviously the intensity and the difficulty
Yeah.
of maths gets higher and higher. The students who did foundation, unfortunately, they were really behind trying to catch up, trying to understand this one concept before moving on. And they end up getting overwhelmed. But I mean, different people might have different experiences,
Right.
but this is generally what I saw from
Yeah.
my class.
Like at our sixth form now, I have seen people personally that I know that got top end, like grade 8, grade 9, that are still struggling on some of the basic things from year 12. So this goes
Yeah,
to show that if you even if you do higher papers, there are still some struggles within the course, right? Well, mechanics is completely different from anything that's done at
yeah,
GCSE. Like mechanics is brand
100%.
new. You probably know this yourself, right? Doing mechanics from the second year is like that's tough mechanics, I must say. Like, it's
It
tough.
is.
We're looking at taking moments about things, which is some of my favorite things now. Taking moments, I can do that any day of the week. I love the stuff. Pulleys, pulleys, like pulleys on a slope now. We do like they never used to be. They just used to be vertical pulleys, but now they're now on angles, and the processes get more and more confusing. Now,
And then you
somebody
start
that's
adding in things like trigonometry and
yeah,
equilibriums and stuff like that. It
friction and
honestly,
stuff.
it is really
Yeah,
interesting. It is
it,
really interesting,
it's
but
interesting, but
obviously it's not
yeah,
easy at all.
to link back to this, I think if someone's getting a grade 5 and they're struggling to remember processes for something like simultaneous equations from GCSE,
Yeah,
you can clearly see that if you're trying to remember a long process at A level, such as doing a mechanics question, you know you're basically yeah you're gonna struggle, aren't you? I mean,
simultaneous equations comes up everywhere in the entire course.
yeah,
It's one of those things that keep coming up. And
yeah,
obviously it is considered quite a really
and
advanced topic for foundation maths. Um, so yeah, I completely agree with that point. If you are someone who does feel like simultaneous equations is a hard process, I mean, just be
mm,
warned that it does keep coming up again and again and again throughout the whole course.
yeah. So to kind of link back to everything I'm doing on this side for the mathematics side, I am hoping over the next couple of weeks to do like a GCSE A level transition thing. Annoyingly, I stopped doing it late August because I had lots of stuff on. There was no way I could have kept going. So I ended up stopping after like the first or second video. Never really kept going with it. However, my plan this year is to keep going back over that again. So the things like your simultaneous equation stuff that people clearly can't remember, and basic indices stuff. Again, even into the second year, I still see problem with indices. Even into the second year, people that can't understand when you're doing like 2 to the minus something is 1/2 to whatever it is. I
Yeah,
keep seeing errors, and it just bugs me. Like they know the maths, they can do the maths. It's just these simple, silly mistakes that crop in again and again and again. Like
yeah.
people do like 2 plus 1 is 4. I mean, it makes me laugh, but it's the simplest things, and you got a calculator. Use it. I think
Yeah.
people are afraid. People are afraid to use the calculator. I must say. because the
I know.
calculator.
One thing I would say is from GCSE to A level. Obviously, at GCSE, you get the calculator paper, you get the non-calculator
Yeah,
paper. In A level maths, every single paper is calculator, and it's calculated for a reason because
yeah,
if you're
because the
not
numbers are
using
nasty, right?
your calculator
Yeah,
in your A level maths lessons and your exams, then you're definitely doing something wrong because you are going to need to keep going to it, keep going to it. In year 11, I remember looking at my class whiz calculator thinking, you know what, I'm not going
yeah.
to ever
I'm
need to
actually
use
going to
any
talk
of
about
these
that.
buttons.
I'm
I'm not
actually
going to
going to
have to
talk
use
about
any of these
that
buttons.
too.
And yeah,
Yeah,
that one. You
yeah,
end up
that's all.
using every single one
I'll mention
pretty
this in a
much.
second.
You end up using a lot more and you start realizing, okay, I need to use this, I need to
Yeah,
use that. Like lon, I never knew what that was. Lon or lin, whatever you want to call
yeah.
it. Log, I didn't know what
So
that was. The
yeah,
trigs, I mean, the
the
only
log
time I
book
used
in the
trig was in like
yeah,
Pythagoras and
it
not
might
Pythagoras,
not be
trigonometry, but
not be
yeah.
reflected for you guys in the camera, but it's up in the top right, and it's the inverse of E. Now E you get introduced once again. Like E is just this random number now, and I think for me I've kind of really gone on a tangent here because I never really answered the first question myself about the phenomenon for mathematics. Phenomenons for me, I want to touch on complex numbers a bit because complex numbers are to do with the square root of -1. Because we're told in LMS, oh, you can't square root a negative number. Oh, you can't do that. And you get a math error on your, if you're on the number one on the class whiz on the calculate book. If you type in the square root of -1, you get a math error. Got you, right? You get a math error. Now, one of the things is be able to do I to the power of I, which is the root -1 to a power of a root -1, which is like complicated, but it actually comes out quite nice. If you draw a graph of I to the power of I, because on menu number 2 on the class is the complex mode. Now, you probably didn't use this so much at A level, right? I don't think you really touched on the complex
I
side
don't
at
think
all.
so, no.
No, so if you do I to the power of I on the class I think it gives you it gives you about pi over 2. Now, that's quite weird to me because why? How, when I do a power of something which is a root to a power of a root, I get a real answer? To me, that is confusing. You know what I think? It seems oddly confusing.
I can't even begin to think about it. I'm already getting a headache from it. But it is really cool. Like
Oh, yeah.
um yeah, maths it shows you so much. Like things that seem impossible like
Yeah,
end up being possible, and then things that seem possible end up being impossible. Like I don't know how else to put it. It is
yeah. To
genuinely
be
like
fair, you summed it up
I've had
quite
my ups
well.
and downs with maths, but
Yeah,
generally it's been a really interesting journey and I've learned a lot
so,
from A level.
so you summed that out better than I could ever do. So yeah, thank you for that nice summary there. I think, like you said, the impossible can become possible. It, it's like, well, touching on I, the beautiful equation of mathematics, e to the I pi plus 1 is 0. You're like, how? I've got 1 in there, I've got 0 in there, I've got e, I've got pi, and I've got I. So I've got 5 of the most complicated things ever. And for some reason, when I do it all together, I get 0. I mean, it's quite nice because you can draw a nice diagram of it. I would if I had the board. I might insert a clip of it in a moment of that diagram. And it's like, why? Why, when I
Mm.
touch 5 things together that are literally the most beautiful things, it gives me such a nice answer. So it's just these things that make you think about the world. And I think, again, it must make you think, doesn't it? But
Yeah.
like you really have to think. Like, there are some questions from A level where I literally have to think hard. Now, in terms of the exam papers, there are what we call the curveball questions. Now, the curveballs, you get the bog standard like the first few, you get about the first 7, don't you?
Hmm.
And then you get like the other 7, and it's like, yeah, those can just go to the those can just go away, just off to the side, and you know, again, these curveball questions, this just throw them in on an Excel because if you didn't know, I do an Excel, and I guess you did it at Excel as well, right? I think
Yeah.
most people do Excel nowadays. In terms of
Yeah.
in terms of the exam boards, I think Edexcel is a lot better than AQA. I've got to say,
Yeah.
because
I mean, I've
on
not really
AQA,
experienced any other exam boards for maths, but Edexcel, yeah. I mean, for our cohort, the 2022 paper, it
yeah,
really like put a lot of people off. Like, it put me off. Like when
yeah,
I was doing the questions, some of these questions were like, I've never practiced anything like this before. But then again, we've
yeah,
been taught the content, and it's just about applying it. And some of the
yeah,
questions in there, I think, for A level maths, my teacher always told me, don't leave anything blank, just try something because, like method
you might as
marks
well.
and stuff.
You might as well.
But I do remember there was one question, I don't remember the details at all, but I just had to leave it blank. I just did not know where to start. Um, and,
Was it
you
like
know,
pure or pure stats mechanics? What was it roughly? You know,
I think it was on the pure questions as well, and pure is
the
my
pure.
favorite.
Lovely.
I think it
So,
was. I think it
yeah.
was.
What was your
And
favorite, by the way, of pure stats and mechanics? What was your favorite?
pure 100%. My whole maths
Yeah,
class, my teacher as well, just
I
preferred pure.
100% agree with you. And the whole reason I agree with you is
100%, 100%.
because
Stats, like,
stats and mechanics genuinely is like applied maths. I cannot apply anything to questions at all. I'm terrible at it. Literally, I'll tell you this story, I might as well, before I completely move on to the next question. So the 2022, the papers you're mentioning, they're not released yet. They're still locked under padlocks. Now,
mhm,
of course, I've done those, and when I did them, when they came out, I was going through them. Like you say, it's like, what on earth? Like,
yeah.
where? Like, why are they pulling these questions from like the odds ends of questions? It's like, what was it? One of the mechanics ones, I think. Was it mechanics? Yeah, one of the mechanics ones. It was a rod that was tilting, and one of them was explaining like, because you have explanations in mechanics, like explain why the friction acts to the right. I think one of the questions was, or why the friction acts to the left, or whatever it might be. It's like, if you've not done a question where you've explained the maths that you're doing, because people just, I know teachers, mechanics teachers, I'm going to pick on them here because I really hate mechanics teachers for this. They just tell you the method, but they don't tell you where it comes from. It's like head in
Yeah.
hand. Why are you not telling me the method, and why are you not telling me why this method works? Because, oh, trust me, this really aggravates me. I was having
Yeah, my teacher
I
was
was
like that. My
I was
teacher
like
in mechanics
terrible
and
mechanics
stats
teachers,
just told us
and
this is the method. You don't really need to know why, but there you
we'll
go,
tell you
just do this in
anyway.
exam.
No,
And as a result, I did end up like I think underperforming quite a bit in my mechanics and my stats. It was my pure that actually
yeah,
got me to. So in my mocks, I got an A in my maths, but then in the actual exam, I ended up getting a C. And then
right.
I was I think I was like 2 marks away from getting a B. I got a remark, and unfortunately nothing changed. So
Yeah,
yeah, it
but
was
say,
quite a drop. Yeah,
people don't know because we've been chatting over Insta for a couple of months now, well,
yeah,
maybe longer, and it's like when you told me that you got it remarked and nothing came about, it's like, really, you cannot find 2 marks that are sitting there,
yeah.
and no, even the method marks, because you get a
Oh, the
method.
300 marks
You
as
get
well.
you get the M1s, M1 which is your method, A1 for your accuracy, so the correct answer, because people see maths as like, oh, it's the correct answer you must get, but actually, it's not always the case. If you can get there a different way, which is not quite the way that the mark scheme does it, you can still get marks for it. But I know for a fact when I take moments a completely different way to the textbook, but I still get the same answer.
Yeah,
When I do an integral, I'll do it a different way to the textbook, but I'll get the same answer. But it's just like, why? Like, why am I getting
mm,
these? It, I'm really going off on a tangent here, and I don't really want to, but I quite like just chatting about mathematics. This is me. This is what I do. How we
yeah,
doing on?
yeah.
We're doing quite bad on the time here, so I do want to sort of wrap this first one up pretty quickly. Um,
Okay.
but I will. We might keep going. I don't know. I'll try and figure it out in a minute. Um, well, yeah. What was your hardest topic That was one of the questions. What was the hardest topic in maths for you?
Um,
Was
I
it
think
was it stats or was it mechanics? Because we know pure's your favourite. Or was it something from pure that you found pure, maybe you
stats.
found something
uh,
from pure really tough? I don't know.
I think if we're talking about across all three, definitely it was
Yeah,
definitely stats.
yeah,
Stats was one of those topics where at the start, you know, how we were introduced into probability, we've done a bit of probability at
yeah,
GCSE. That was quite
yeah,
okay. But I
yeah.
think everything after probability, especially year 13 stats,
Oh
just
God,
everything
don't even
there.
get me
We were told,
started. Don't
yeah,
even get me
we were just
started on
told,
year
you know,
13
just use the
stats.
yeah, we were
Like,
just told get the calculator,
yeah,
use
yeah.
this. I can't
Use
remember
the
the names of the
calculator. I don't know where
functions.
I put the calc now. I put it over there somewhere, off to the side. I put the calc off to the side, and I don't know where I put it. But on the stats
But we'd
menu,
be told, yeah, we'd
like
be told
you
put
don't
in
get
these,
told
plug
how
in the
to use the menu.
numbers, and
You
yeah,
don't get told how to use it either.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
so,
yeah,
some
exactly.
some people that I know, they don't even know how to find like the mean on a calculator or something. And it's like, why are statistics teachers not like telling people how they should do the stats? Because
Yeah,
it just makes you think, doesn't it? Like,
yeah. Stats is
yeah,
the thing
stats is
where
horrible. It's horrific.
like there's so much going on, and like we get told, you know, use the, you know, that table right at the end of the formula booklet. I
Yeah,
still don't understand
I'll
what
off the
what
camera
the
and get
point
that.
of
I
that
got one
is
side.
because yeah, ah, brilliant.
Yeah, I've got that. In fact, let me just show you this. Oh, right. So I thought, well, might as well show this. This is the stack of textbooks I own for maths. So I have year two stats and mechanics, which is flipping massive. And yes, I don't know if do you get to keep hold of these books? Or do you have to buy them? Like what do you do for books?
Our
Because I don't know
school
your
brought them
situation, you
for
see.
us. Our school brought them
All right.
for us, but I know lots of my friends they had to like at other schools, other sixth forms, they had to buy them themselves.
Yeah. Interesting. So do you keep the books? Do you keep them or do you give them back?
No, we had to return it in the end, but we managed to keep it. Like we took it home with
Yeah.
us. We were allowed to use it. We weren't allowed
Yeah.
to write in there, but it'd just be copying the questions. We also
So
got the practice books as well, but then at the end of the year we had
um,
to return them.
yeah, the practice ones are quite good. There are like the digital versions of the books because I think on the inside they give you like a code, but the code
Yeah.
always the code always expired. So like this code here is used by the 31st of December 2019. Like really, I can't use the book then, can I? So there are digital versions, and if anyone does at Excel, I will link below in the description a Google Drive with all the copies of these digital books. So if you are watching, it's like, well, I don't have a digital copy of the book. I will link that for you guys, just a reminder. So I have that one. What else do I have? I also have the final book. So the stats tables you were mentioning were, I found the page. Really, just a page of random numbers. Like, who's going to use them? Like, really?
Yeah.
The students' T distribution and the lambda squared distributions, you won't do these are for maths only. But the critical value for correlation, so you had to go across and then you had to go down the sample size. Oh, memories, eh? Memories of mathematics. Oh, and then they just had pages of formulae and the Poisson. Poisson's another formula which is on the class list after the normal distribution. The Poisson's there, but okay, we don't tell you about it, but it's there anyway. I know some people that actually have clicked the wrong button and got a probability from the Poisson, which actually wasn't the correct answer. Don't know how you weigh that one out. And then you got all the statistical tables as well, which is these things. I think you're mentioning them, right? They're the ones. I don't know if you can see that on the screen there.
Yeah, that's it.
Um,
Horrible
and then you got
memories.
like pages and pages of interesting things. If you can call them interesting, I don't know, but depends how you perceive mathematics. So yeah, I've got that, and then I've got year two, pure, lovely stuff. I have that one. And then I have year one stats and mechanics, lovely stuff. I mean, stats, no, mechanics, maybe. You want to look at that way. I also have another random year two textbook. Don't know why, but I do. I have another one. Um, that's a French textbook. I don't know how I've got that, but there we go. It's not part of this video. I also have a exercise book for option modules. Now, for further maths, you got to pick your option modules. So for me, videos wise, I've only been doing the core stuff, the compulsory stuff, as we call it. Now, problem with picking modules is, which ones do you pick? Which ones can you pick? It's like,
I was going to ask, do you know if in schools, like with the further maths, there's quite a few options that you can pick? Do the
yeah,
schools pick for you, or do students actually have the
right.
options to pick?
Maths wise, yeah, further maths wise, so we got to pick them, but the
Okay.
problem was the problem was because in year 12 you only had a limited amount of maths. Like, of course, you did not do the year two book in year 12. So the year two book was only solely for year 13. But further maths people start this towards the end of year 12 when there's not much content left.
Um,
So we started this book when did we start it? Like late April time. So probably not long far away, like after Easter. I think we cracked on with this. And then because we had two teachers, so this teacher would do this book with us, and then the other teacher would do the revision of the content from the AS Core Pure, which I have somewhere. Yeah, the AS Core Pure book. Yeah, that's that one. So yeah, because you have two of these green books. You have the AS book, book 1A, as
hmm.
quite clear says, and book two, which I've got somewhere. I'll fish it out in a minute. Um, so you did those as well as two option modules. Now, option module one, I've got one in front of me. That's decision. So decision maths is for if you like computer science. Was computer science offered at your college, maybe? So
Yeah, yeah.
decision,
I remember in my
yeah,
sixth form, all the boys used to do computer science except me. I was the only boy in my
interesting.
entire sixth form that didn't do computer science.
So computing is, it's not a bad L, especially if it's linked with further maths because you do decision maths. Now, a quick note on notation here: we call it decision maths. Now, if you did AQA, we call it discrete maths, which is the technical term for it. Interestingly, right? So it's decision, but discrete, same word. I should probably mention that, otherwise I'm going to get comments saying, "Oh, we did discrete maths. What's that module?" I know what people are like, you see. And then for some reason, I have also another year two textbook, another one just in front of me. So I have three of these now. I don't know why, but I do. I have three of these. I
You
don't know
love
why.
pure that much.
I don't know, but I just have three of them. I mean, there you go. I'll set them off to the side. So yeah, we got to pick them, but again, the trouble was because you had a limited amount of maths at year 12. So you did in year 12. We started off with the core pure stuff, which was that green book, as well as decision, because you didn't have enough to do more statistics, more mechanics, or more pure, because you were limited with the maths that you had. So we did decision in year 12 as well as core pure. Towards the end of year 12, we did revision as well as the second year pure book from L maths. So then, when we come back in year 13, we started the second core pure 2 book, which we're almost finished at the moment, as well as the end of the pure maths year 2 textbook, because that took us until about December time, roughly. So in further maths, we fly through it. Like you could do it. You could do a
Hmm.
chapter in a day. You could do a chapter a day, and you could fly through it.
Oh wow.
That was like how quick you could get through it. A chapter a day. For statistics and mechanics, again, we did that quite late on because we had to do year 2 mechanics in order to access further mechanics. Because again, you were limited. I think I've got the further maths textbook in front of me.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's the Core Pure 2 book. That's book 2, if you're interested. And yeah, that's pretty chunky as well. So that's the second Core Pure book. And then I've also got the mechanics one somewhere. But interestingly, while I'm
Just
fishing for that,
shows, yeah, just
while
shows all your interest in maths,
yeah,
your passion for it.
while I'm fishing through these, we'll ask you the question of how do you take notes for A level maths? That's what we can't
Um,
about.
I don't
Personal
think
account.
I I don't think I didn't actually take notes. It was just
Yeah.
practice question after question after question. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, for some things you could have like a general formula, like a
Yeah.
general method to remember. But most of the time I didn't actually take notes. It was just doing a practice question. And then obviously the practice question, sometimes you could some of the questions require like another approach. So you're trying to find out something different. And I'll just make sure I've got an example of each one. So I know these are all the different ways that they can ask me about this
Yeah.
topic. So that is, I didn't really take notes, but I do know some people that did take notes. Just depends
I
what type of
say,
person you are. See, I'm more of a like I learn when I actually do stuff rather than writing down notes and just to maximize
because
time efficiency as well. Because I
yeah,
knew with
because
notes, I wouldn't really
this
ever
is
look back on them.
another very good question that someone's posted about note taking because I know some people like write them digitally, so they can do it on an iPad maybe.
Yeah,
If you want to take notes that way, that's fine. Or you could go down the traditional pen and paper, right? Which, that's what I'm doing. I do pen and paper because I think digitally you have to carry something in, then you have to carry it back. It's also not light. Like my laptop that's just off camera here is not light. That's heavy. So I'm carrying, if you're going to carry that around, as well as carrying the textbooks around, which, yeah, you might have a digital version of, but you might still want to carry it for like when you're free or whatever. Because in your freeze, you get assigned the mixed exercises out the end of the textbooks and the review
yeah,
exercise
yeah,
and just exam questions. And for us, I don't know about you, but we got a weekly homework every week. Now, I see, well, people say, oh, should you really be doing the weekly homework? Well, yes, you should, because you get in trouble if you don't. But
mm,
if you don't do it, I think that's, well, your choice, right? If you don't want to do the homework, because for me, if I was teaching and someone didn't do the homework, well, sorry, not my fault. You didn't do it. It's up to you.
yeah,
It's your choice, right? So
yeah.
no,
It
no,
was
that's like,
completely their choice to go onto that course as well. So it
yeah,
is they do have to take responsibility
yeah,
if they haven't done it.
yeah. What was it like homework wise for you? Don't know what it. I was like
We
that's what it's
so
like for us. So I don't know.
Yeah, so our homework was so you know the textbooks you were just showing
Yeah,
for year one and year two. It was doing some of the questions. So when we have the exercises and the mixed exercises, we'd be told, okay, do this question, do this question, do this question. It wasn't necessarily do question one, two, three. It wasn't necessarily do question nine, 10, 11. It was like do question three, do question five, do question nine, and we'll go back to it. And we'd always review it. Um, in the following week, or if there was a question that everyone struggled in that lesson, the teacher would say, "All right, go home, have a go again, read through the text again, um, have another go, basically, and we'd
yeah.
go through the solutions before starting the next topic in the next lesson." So that's the way
Now,
we did it.
interestingly, um, I know this is for an Excel. I'm just literally plugging an Excel in instead of the rest of the exam boards. But for an Excel, because we did an Excel, so we can kind of
Yeah,
like agree a little bit on what we said here. So in terms of checking your answers, of course, we've got the answers in the backs of the textbooks. So they always put at the back with a index that no one really ever used because you've just got a contents page in the front of the textbook. So okay. Um, but we've also got the solution bank. Now, interestingly, did you use the
uh,
solution bank to check your answers, or was it just like, yeah, it's there, I'm not really using it? What was the deal with that? 'Cause
yeah. So
I know some people that just for homework because you got set the exercise out the book, they will just copy
yeah,
the solution bank and then give that in as homework. Like, okay, there's the homework, and you can
I do
tell.
know a few people that did
I can
that. Yeah,
tell
so
if someone gave me a copy of the solution bank written out, I can tell. It's not like they're trying to fib me. They're trying to pull wool over my eyes. I can tell because I know I've said a certain method to them. So when I can see it, I say, well, we've not taught you that method. Where's that method come from? Oh yeah, if someone's just pulled it out of thing, you know.
Yeah, with
Anyway,
Solutions Bank, it was it's quite interesting because sometimes we do the exercises, and at the end, it obviously in the book it tells you the final answer. It doesn't tell you the process of getting there. So bringing up
Yeah,
Solutions Bank, where they show you this is what they did first, then this, and this is how we got to the end. It sometimes it's a good way to look at it, but I also do know a lot of people that end up cheating their way through, and they'll just copy it down. Um, but
like
you
the
know,
helping
at the end of the
examples.
day, those who did cheat, it gave the teacher a false idea that okay, my class, they all understand it now. They've all got it right. So this student, they know what they're doing. So
Yeah,
in the end, obviously it paid back to them. It was a bit unfortunate because those are the students who
yeah,
end up doing
definitely,
worse generally.
completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Just copying the answers out of the textbook, like, well, out of solution bank, I should say. Like,
Yeah.
why? They're only cheating themselves. That's all they're
Yeah.
doing. They're just cheating themselves, right? Like, well, what's the point? Cheating yourself.
Exactly. It
Really,
does come back.
I don't,
It does come back to the students. Yeah.
I don't get it. Anyway, so I think it's time that you pose questions to me now because I've asked questions to you that I've got. So if you've got any questions for me now this is the time because I want to wrap this video up pretty soon now. 'Cause it's been going on for over an hour, so and I
Yeah,
appreciate
sounds good.
that you probably got other
I've just
things
got one question. So
you
obviously
probably got
you've
other
got a
things on,
massive
etc.
interest in maths. Like maths
Yeah,
seems to be the thing that you seem to be on it. You genuinely enjoy it. Um you've got you've got a genuine interest on it because I've seen the amount of videos you've posed and you're always wanting to know further and further. When was it like when in your life did you know like maths is your thing? Like was it in school? Was it in primary school, secondary school? Was it during GCSEs? Was it just like
interesting. Thanks for the question. I
so
don't
what's your
know.
journey of interest in
I
maths?
think initially, like at lower levels, it was like well, standard addition, wasn't it? Standard addition, subtraction, all that sort of stuff. It's like, yeah, I could do it, but then there was also these little mistakes that cropped it. It's like,
Hmm.
why? Like, why am I just adding these silly numbers? And when I go back over like the old stuff that old school books that are just put in a box somewhere, it's like really
Yeah, I've
like
got
I
that.
made that silly mistake then. But then you come to secondary school and it was struggling. It was tough. It was tough at the beginning because it was brand new. In year seven, it's like brand new stuff. They were bringing in,
Yeah.
percentages, percentages you do a little bit of lower down in like year six, year five maybe, but you didn't do it to the extent that they taught you. Because they taught you to do it in reverse. They taught you to work out what the percentage change was overall, which still
Hmm.
crops up again at A level. We find percentage change in the trapezium rule, for example, in integration. And then we come to like upper sixth form, sort of year 12, year 13. And that's to me where it thrived. Because towards like the end of GCSE, I literally had covered the year 12 content literally just before we went back in September. The year 12 content was done for me. So I was
Hmm.
quite advanced. And then teachers that taught me were concerned because they were concerned, well, if you know too much now, what are you going to learn in the rest of the lessons? So yeah, for me, it's like yeah, end of GCSE. I think for me, if I want to answer that question, yeah, end of
Yeah.
GCSE, like
Hmm.
towards the like
Sounds
summer,
good.
like the summer between GCSE and A level sort of thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I
For
call
me, you know what? It was really similar for me. So I just did maths because we had to up to year 11. And
it. Yeah,
then once GCSEs start, like where we had to really knuckle down and really study for our GCSE maths exams, our mock exams, etc. I was like, okay, right, I know this process. I know how this works. I know how this works. But I still had a lot of unanswered questions. I was like, why? Why is this? And I was always thinking like I mean I always go back to quadratics, but how does quadratics advance from this? How did those people who are doing A level maths, those who do maths at uni, those who do um like professorships in maths, how does this build on to the really complicated stuff? And A level maths just taught me that. And
yeah,
I think by the end of A level maths, I was like, okay, right, I need to pick one subject I need to specialize in. Biology is definitely my thing. and that's the route I went down. But I know there's some people that continue that journey. So they're like at the end of A-level maths and further
Yeah.
maths, they're like, right, this all makes sense, but I've still got more questions. How does this advance? Things like that.
Yeah.
They go on to do maths degrees
Yeah.
and then they go on to do
Yeah.
masters, etc.
Yeah. Were you happy with A-levels? Like, were you happy doing it? Because I think,
Yeah, I'd say it's been a positive experience with any maths. Like
yeah,
you know how maths is, you get your ups and downs, you get those questions that
yeah,
just stay in your mind, questions that take
yeah,
a couple
that's
of
me.
days to
That's me.
understand. Questions where you just look at the paper, you just look at the question, you just don't know
Yeah.
how to go around it.
Yeah.
Questions where you go back and you realize, right, there's a mistake here somewhere, but I don't know where it is.
Especially if you've
Um,
not done the question before. If you've done the question before, you kind of know what you want to do, but you're not
yeah,
completely sure. Like, you've got a faint
yeah.
idea.
And
And
like
it's
the
like,
questions where you get the answer given to you and you're like,
yeah,
I've done the exact same thing, but how have I got this different? And
yeah.
you realize it's a tiny mistake. Yeah, I've had my ups and downs, but generally A-level maths has, like in terms of transferable skills, it has probably taught me the most.
Yeah.
I'm in my first year of uni now. I must say I've forgotten the majority of content from biology, psychology, and maths at A-level. But in terms of like the general concepts and the things that I can apply,
Yeah.
like problem solving, just thinking skills, just thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
Maths has probably taught me the most. So I'd say
Mhm.
it has been good learning about maths at sixth form, but
So,
also in terms of looking at long term,
yeah.
out of all my A levels, I'd say maths has been the most beneficial to me.
Yeah. So, say if you did, what would you do it again? Would you do the A level maths course again, or would you do A levels
Uh
again? And like,
I think
I
A
suppose,
levels, it probably was A levels generally was the most stressful point of my life. Like I go from year 10, year 11, year 12, year 13, sixth form, uni now. And I'd say year 13 has been the most stressful time of my life. Then I'd
yeah,
say it was year 11. Then I'd say it was year 12. Then I'd say it was like uni, like right now. Like uni's quite chilled compared to sixth form. And then I'd say it's year 10. So that's the order I'd give it from like most
mm,
stressful to least stressful. So
right,
just because of the stress levels and how much nights I'd just be sat there with this maths question, like I want to get this done, but I want to go to sleep as well.
yeah, of
And the
course you
amount of
do.
times where I have to, there were some topics where I had to spend like a couple of weeks on just
Yeah,
revisiting
you just gonna
um
nail it, don't you?
like integration. Year 13 integration was one of them
Um,
that took me
I
quite a
love the
while to
approximate integration
understand.
so much. I literally love it so much. It's
But
great.
yeah, for those reasons, I don't think I'd do it again. But I have learned a lot, and it has
Right.
been quite a good journey.
So I'm going to summarize it now and bring this video to a close,
Awesome.
and then we might have a bit of a chat at the end, maybe before I let you go and do whatever you're doing for the rest of the afternoon.
Okay.
So I've got to say, thanks very much for joining me here. You know, I've got to
No worries.
really,
It's been a pleasure.
really appreciate your time, having a nice chat at mid-afternoon. So yeah, I will link everything that Zach has socials wise and everything. I'll and his YouTube channel. It will be linked down below. You can go ahead and join that. Also, any links that I've mentioned during the video will also be mentioned down below as well. And if you want to support the channel, feel free to. There is a Buy Me a Coffee page if you want to go and support me on there. All the proceeds go towards me making more videos on that lovely board that you see right behind me. And once again, uh, thanks very much for watching this video. Highly appreciate it. Um, and yeah, hope I'll see you soon, and best of luck with everything that you do, and as well as best of luck to Zach there as well for the rest of your degree. Thanks very much, Zach. Thank
Brilliant.
you.
Cheers, guys.